Let's be honest, that's where everything begins to unravel, isn't it? When you strip away the polished smiles, the polite nods, and those carefully chosen words. Let's be honest, she wants more from you than she'll ever say out loud. She craves something darker, something deeper. And the truth is, most men never dare to go there. Not because they can't, but because they're terrified of what might happen if they did. But I'll tell you something that will make you uneasy right now. It's not your fear that pushes her away. It's your hesitation. You've been conditioned to be the nice guy, respectful, polite, controlled. And while respect matters, only weakness is repelled. She doesn't desire the one who bends to every mood she has. She desires the man capable of standing firmly in front of her storm without stepping back, not controlling her, but not being controlled by her either. Because whether she admits it or not, a woman secretly wants to feel a man's strength, not just physically, but emotionally. She wants to feel your certainty, your unwavering presence. When she pokes, when she tests, when she tries to push you off center, she's not pushing you away. She's checking if your foundation cracks. And if it does, she loses something you'll never get back. Here's a truth they don't reveal. Some of the things she secretly wants from you sound a little dirty, not inappropriate, not disrespectful, but raw, real. A little dangerous because they challenge your conditioning. She wants you to unpredictably catch her when she thinks she's got you all figured out. She wants you to stop asking for permission for everything. She wants that moment when you step closer instead of walking around her emotions. She wants to feel that masculine edge, not aggressively, but confidently. She wants you to tell her no when every other man whispers, "Whatever you want." She'll never admit that. But the moment you do it, everything inside her reacts. Because deep down, she doesn't just want your affection, she wants your leadership. There are men who say, "I don't want to upset her." And then there are men who quietly look at her and say, "I'm not afraid of your reaction." Do you understand how rare that man is? When you calmly stand your ground without explaining yourself, without scrambling to be liked, her instincts wake up. She senses that primal energy, and it's something modern dating has starved her of. Not dominance, direction, not arrogance, decisiveness, the kind that says, "I see you, I hear you, but I'm still leading." You don't have to play games. You just have to stop betraying your nature. Stop shrinking to make her comfortable. Women aren't attracted to neutrality. They're drawn to polarity. She doesn't want to be your priority. She wants to be drawn to your purpose. The next time you feel you're walking on eggshells around her emotions, remember this. She's not hoping you'll tiptoe. She's hoping you'll break the pattern. She doesn't just want your attention. She wants to feel consumed by your presence, not smothered, not controlled, claimed. And that's a word most men fear because they confuse claiming with possession. But there's a difference. Possession is rooted in insecurity. Claiming is rooted in assurance. It's the energy that says, "You're with me, and I know exactly who I am with or without your validation." That quiet confidence makes her feel safe, yet slightly off balance because she senses that you are not dependent on her approval. And that tension, that subtle uncertainty, it pulls her toward you harder than any compliment ever could. Here's the uncomfortable truth she'll never admit. Sometimes she fantasizes about you being more direct. Not rude, not disrespectful, just intentional. She wants you to look her in the eyes when she's being difficult, and instead of trying to soothe her with soft words, step closer and calmly say, "We're done talking in circles. Here's what we're going to do." She'll react in the moment, maybe argue, maybe push back. But later, when she's alone, she'll replay the moment, and she'll feel something awaken that she hasn't felt in a long time. Admiration. Women want a man who isn't afraid to lead, and leadership doesn't mean overpowering her. It means holding your position when she challenges it. She won't say it out loud, but when she tests you, it's not because she wants to dominate you. She wants to feel the weight of your resolve. She wants to know that if life hits hard, you won't collapse. Why? Because when she chooses you, deep down, She wants to choose a man whose energy feels unshakable when everything else is chaotic. You want the emotional switch that makes her crave you? Stop trying to avoid conflict. Conflict, when handled with grounded masculinity, forms attraction. Most men retreat, silence themselves, tiptoe around her frustrations, and every time you do, without realizing it, you communicate, "Your emotions are stronger than me." But when you stand firm and you don't get reactive, no panic, no persuasion, just calm certainty, you say without words, "Your emotions don't rattle me." That to a woman feels like oxygen. There's a side of her psychology that craves being met with confident resistance. Not rebellion, not aggression, just clarity. When you refuse to participate in her emotional chaos but still acknowledge her feelings, it builds trust. That's the difference between a boy pretending to be respectful and a man who knows his value. The darker truth? She desires a man who is willing to push back when necessary. When you don't chase, when you don't beg, when you don't constantly seek reassurance, you activate something she is biologically wired to respond to, not anxiety, desire. Here's what I want you to ask yourself tonight. When she last pulled away or became emotionally distant, did you lean into your masculine calm, or did you fold into panic and chase? Your honest answer could be the reason she stayed or why she left. She doesn't just want to feel loved, she wants to feel chosen in a way that shakes her core, and not because you declared it over and over, but because your actions and energy make it undeniable. Women are intuitive. They sense when your focus is scattered, when you're hiding insecurity behind affection, or when your attention is directed at her simply because you're afraid to lose her. What she secretly desires, but will almost never say out loud, is to be with a man who could walk away but chooses not to, because he values himself first and then her. That paradox is powerful. You are free, and yet you stay. She doesn't want to be your everything. She wants to be drawn into your world, a world that exists even without her. If she feels like she is your only source of purpose, attraction evaporates. But when you live with depth, with mission, with discipline, with something you chase harder than her, she feels honored when you give her access to your life. Most men reverse this dynamic. They make her the mission and abandon their center. And once she feels that you orbit her completely, she loses the very thing she was initially attracted to, the gravitational pull of a man with direction. She wants to feel like you see her deeply, the parts she hides from the world, but not in desperation to be enough for you. Rather, in confidence that you recognize her strengths and her contradictions. Women are multi-layered. She wants you to notice that when she's trying to act tough, sometimes it's because she feels fragile. She wants you to recognize when she's pushing you away. It's often because she hopes you'll step toward her. She won't say these things, but she'll feel them in your presence when you aren't trying to solve her, but understand her. There's something dirty, psychologically speaking, that she secretly wants. She wants moments where you break her patterns without asking for permission. When she's spinning in overthinking, she secretly wants you to stop her with your presence. Not words, presence. A calm hand on her shoulder, a firm enough. A look that communicates you are not afraid to navigate her intensity. She wants masculine energy that doesn't fight her feminine chaos, but absorbs it and redirects it. Not aggressively, just deliberately. The edge she craves is the one that awakens her softness. Most women won't admit this because society tells them they should want control. But attraction is primal, not political. In her deepest instinct, she wants a man she feels safe surrendering to, not because he demands it, but because his grounded energy makes it effortless. Tonight, I want you to reflect on this. When she last shut down emotionally, did you try to fix her with logic? Or did you stay present and let your stillness speak louder? Women don't fall for the loud man. They fall for the man with quiet certainty. She doesn't just want to feel desired. She wants to feel claimed with subtle dominance, not through force, but through certainty. She won't say it because she fears being misunderstood, But deep inside, she craves moments when you take initiative without waiting for her to guide you. That's the energy that makes her feel like she's with a real man, not someone seeking her instructions. She wants to feel your decisiveness, whether it's in conversation, in your plans, or even in how you touch her. When you act with intention instead of hesitation, you create the very security she pretends not to need. Here's a psychological truth. What she finds attractive often lives in contradiction. She wants a man who listens deeply yet doesn't bend easily. She wants empathy without emotional fragility. She wants affection without the constant need for reassurance. She wants a man unafraid to tell her what he thinks, even if it's not what she wants to hear, because she respects truth over compliance. And in her silence, she longs for direction. When you step forward with confidence, even intention, she may resist at first, but later she'll respect you more for it. One of the darkest secrets of female psychology is this: she wants a man who can handle her at her worst without losing himself. That doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or emotional manipulation. It means you don't crumble when she tests you. She wants to know, if I push, will he still stand? If I collapse, will he stay composed? If I surrender, will he know what to do with it? A man who doesn't waver gives her emotional permission to relax, because your steadiness becomes her refuge. And yes, sometimes she wants you to stop over-negotiating your actions. She doesn't need 100 questions about what she wants. She needs you to choose, to take the lead without overthinking her reaction. When you hesitate, she feels pressure to take control, and when she takes control, she loses attraction. Because deep down, she wants to follow a man whose energy she trusts, even if she doesn't always agree in the moment. There's something else she won't say. She's attracted to unpredictability with inconsistency, not chaos, but surprise. She wants you to be stable, but not dull. The man who holds his center yet occasionally steps outside the expected, that's the man she thinks about when no one is watching. It's not about games, it's about edge. It's about reminding her that even though you are calm and composed, there's a fire underneath. Tonight, ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you made a decision without checking whether she would like it first? When was the last time you led a moment with confidence instead of compliance? When did you last allow her to feel that you are grounded yet untamed? She doesn't want to tame you. She wants to trust you. One of the dirtiest things she secretly wants from you is emotional dominance. Not control, not manipulation, but leadership in the emotional space. The kind that doesn't react to her moods, but regulates them. Most men believe attraction is built on how much affection they give. But the truth? It's built on how deeply you can hold space for her without getting dragged into her emotional storm. When she spirals, she's subconsciously looking to see whether you remain grounded or whether you drown with her. She might argue in the moment, but what she remembers later is whether you stayed unshaken. She wants to feel your strength not by force, but through composure. A man who doesn't flinch when she's emotional isn't being cold. He's being secure. And security is the ultimate trigger of desire. She craves the presence of a man who can look at her when she's overreacting and say calmly, "I hear you. I'm not leaving, but I won't move from what I know is right." That is power without aggression, and it is intoxicating to her. When she pulls away, most men chase. When she gets chaotic, most men retreat. But what she secretly wants, though she'll never say it, is for you to stay still. Not silent in fear, not distant in frustration, just rooted. She doesn't want you to argue with her emotions. She wants you to outstabilize them. That kind of emotional leadership creates a polarity so strong that she'll find herself drawn back to you without understanding why. Here's a dynamic women rarely discuss. Her emotional turbulence is often a test of your energy, not your logic. She doesn't want you to solve her feelings, she wants you to contain them. It's the difference between telling her what to do and showing her it's safe to not be in control. Women don't fall for the man who tries to fix them. They fall for the man who creates an environment where they no longer feel broken. And yet, the modern man collapses into either silence or emotional volatility. He either bottles everything up or meets her fire with more fire. What she secretly desires is the rare middle ground, a man whose stillness challenges her storm, who feels deeply, acts intentionally, and never sacrifices his masculine center to win momentary approval. Here's the darkest part. Sometimes she wants you to interrupt her emotional spiral, not with force, but with dominance of energy. A firm, "That's enough." A quiet, "I'm here, but we're not going down that road." Not dismissive, decisive. Do it once with calm conviction, and you'll see how quickly the storm passes. Tonight, ask yourself honestly, when she last tested you, did you elevate the moment? Or did you match her emotions? Did you give her a safe place to land? Or did you create another battlefield? One of the darkest, most hidden desires women have, but will never dare to voice, is this. She wants you to stop being afraid of her reactions, not to ignore them, not to overpower them, but to stand strong in who you are regardless of how she momentarily feels. When you adjust your behavior based solely on her approval, she may feel powerful, but she will never feel attracted. What captures her is the man who respects her emotions yet refuses to be ruled by them. It's that quiet fearlessness that makes her realize, this is a man I can lean into, this is a man I can trust. She wants you to embrace your masculine nature without explaining it, without suppressing it to appear safe. She may challenge your firmness, but secretly she wishes you'd hold it even stronger, because what she really wants is to feel that your sense of self cannot be negotiated. When a man has boundaries that even her beauty, her tears, or her anger cannot break, something inside her softens, not because you won, but because she no longer feels responsible for guiding the relationship. That's when she stops resisting and starts surrendering. The truth is, attraction isn't built in how perfect you behave, but in how you handle imperfection, hers and yours. She wants to see you respond with intentional action, not emotional reaction. She wants to feel that you decide, not because you don't care, but because you care with direction. When you calmly end an unproductive argument with, "This conversation isn't helping either of us. Let's revisit when we're calm," she may resist in the moment, but later, that's when she replays it in silence and feels a deeper form of respect. There is something else even darker that she secretly desires. She wants your desire to be undeniable, not spoken with desperation, but expressed with certainty. When you look at her and she can sense that you want her, but you don't need her, that is the exact moment her attraction ignites. Because a woman is most drawn to a man who chooses her confidently from abundance, not clings to her from fear. The paradox of desire. The more you can walk away, the more she wants you to stay. Imagine this. Instead of seeking reassurance with, "Do you still love me?" you say nothing and simply show up consistently, grounded in your purpose, living a life she wants to be part of. You don't chase her affection, you embody the energy that makes her chase connection. A man who leads with purpose invites admiration. A man who leads with fear invites distance. Tonight, be brutally honest with yourself. When was the last time you acted from strength instead of trying to avoid her disappointment? When did you last express desire without diluting it? When did you last lead a moment without seeking her emotional permission? Ask yourself this and answer in the comments. Are you the kind of man she respects or the kind of man she manages? If this hit you differently, like the video now. Subscribe for more truth no one else will dare to speak. And share this with a man who desperately needs to hear it before he loses her for good.